editors so far who are active in the magazine, about 100, and some of them they just slip out for a little bit because they got finals or dance recitals and that sort of thing. And it's an amazing magazine. So please look at this carefully and check us out at polyphonyhs.com. I usually don't try to memorize any of my poetry, and I would never come up here. What you people do is amazing to me. But I thought, for the heck of it, I'm going to try to do that. But I'm not foolish enough to come up here without the book. This is called Poem for Leonard. When I first was starting to write stories for my first book, I took my son, Kane, he was 5 at the time, to Bridgeport, which is right over here on the near south side. It was infamous for its racial intolerance when I was growing up. I didn't realize that so much until I got a little older. Right when I took my son to Bridgeport to sort of urge forth some of these ideas, I took him to the place where I lived, above a bakery on 33rd and Wallace, and the door to the stairwell was open. And there was a note that was posted on the wall, and it said, "People live here. This is not a toilet. Don't piss in the hallway." And we were about to leave the place, and my son stopped me, and he was only 5 at the time. He put his hand on the crook of my arm, and he said that he told me that he was honored to be taken to this place. It was right after a black kid named Leonard Clark came into Bridgeport from the Robert Taylor homes and got beat into a coma by 4 white kids from the place where I grew up. It's called Poem for Leonard. It doesn't seem big enough now for softball games, but this was a play lot. That was left field, that was right field, this left. These houses were not here then. There were fences and bleachers and a league of boys. Across the street there, you took my hand, was the bakery. That window 3 floors up, my mother's window. And these black lines of iron, this skeleton of folding stairs bolted to the bakery brick, the fire escape we had hoped to never use. I told you that day about the pilgrim virgin we prayed before to save us from the fires of hell, which I hope for still. And the time I dropped my allowance, a single skinny coin that rolled into a crack on the stairs and was gone, the sadness of a gone thing, but I did not tell you everything. I did not tell you about Robbie, who woke up a black man asleep on the bus by breaking his arm. I did not tell you about the sound of a broken arm. Or of Crazy Ray Ray, who beat up a Mexican with a baseball bat in front of Bernie's, the way the Mexican's knee bounced like rubber on the iron step of the store, almost alive, as though it might be used again. I would not have told you that. Neither did I tell you of Leonard Clark, the black boy who came into Bridgeport that spring to get air in his bicycle tires. Not much to ask, it seems. Air. I would not have told you that. I told you about fire, though. Fire's different. How I stood inside a room of gray smoke and looked for my shoes, and inside the smoke, the smell of bread. I told you about fire. And here's the door to the stairwell. And inside the door, still brown stairs, 33. How did I know there were 33? I used to count them. I counted them until I could not forget. I counted them until the reason for counting was gone. Memory. And what said the note that was taped to the wall? It said that people live here. That these were stairs to living people. This was not a toilet. It was not a place to piss. And I gave you that word. I could have said P. You were only 5. But I wasn't thinking. Look, I said, this is where I lived. The place I was 5, I was a boy here. And there was fire and fear, there was glass and blood and ice and fist. And after the play lot closed, we still had these baseball bats. And now this sign taped on the wall where I was once a boy, but I swear to God, Kane, there was a play lot here. Across the street, the older boys would come over here to my lemonade stand and to muss my hair. They mussed hair then. And now this. And I wanted to leave that place. The key to the car was in my left hand. Me wondering what there was left to give you now that everything was gone, now that you had reached a remembering time. But when I put the key in the door, you put your hand on the crook of my arm and you told me you were honored. You put your hand on the crook of my arm as though to stop me, as though to say a thing, as though the thing could only be said on the hard scrabble streets of this place, and you told me you were honored to be taken there. In front of an old bakery that had fire and hatred to remember, that had glass and blood and smoke and fist. This is the trade we made that day. You were 5 and opened your new memory, and I thought I gave you piss to put there. And before we left that place, you called it honor. Reminded the old man about honor. That's a poem for Leonard. Thank you.